Q4 guidance. Obviously, a lot of concerns playing out because of all these technicals that are being breached as we speak. Foreign investors are net selling in the chip space. Does this mean that this is a good buying opportunity? We'll see how things go there. Will, it's back to you.
I love that the struggle is real. Sherry, thank you so much for that. Now, let's bring back Chidu Narayanan, Head of Macro Strategy APAC at Wells Fargo Securities. Now, Chidu, before the break, we were talking a little bit about Japan and I suppose, you know, your expectations when it does come to the yen. But what about your expectations, I suppose, a little bit more broadly, when you're thinking about, you know, the economic environment in the likes of Japan, in the likes of Korea? Are you bullish there?
Right. So all through 2023, we had this differentiation between Northeast Asia and Southeast Asia, where Southeast Asia and India had this mix of fairly steady growth, and inflation wasn't too much of a problem. Northeast Asia, excluding Japan, had inflation as still a bit of a problem, but growth was softening. Through this year, we still think that picture really hasn't changed so much. Inflation is not probably as big a problem as it was last year. It's softening, but not at the pace that policymakers would like. Growth is still soft. It has some green shoots, but in general, particularly in Korea, growth is broadly soft and very heavily predicated on what happens with the global environment. In a scenario where you do have a soft landing, that means that global demand does not dramatically collapse, and especially as the chip cycle comes to a bottom and there are green shoots there, particularly looking at the end of year numbers on exports, particularly tech exports. Those are positives for Korea. So we think that in a background of a weakening dollar and a softer, a soft landing scenario, the Korean won could perform maybe not as much as some of the others in the EM space, but we think that the won could be performing this year.
In Asia, where are you bullish?
One, we like the yen, and we also like the INR. We think that INR story is quite strong on a multitude of fronts. One, it's a counter-cyclical currency. Typically, when global growth slows down, INR does really well for two factors. One, oil prices typically slow down as global growth slows down because of the demand picture, which is supportive for INR, which is a significant oil importer.
Yeah.
So the current account is supported, gold prices decline as well.
The INR has pretty much done nothing for the better part of last year, right? Given the support from the Reserve Bank of India trying to shore up dollar reserves.
Yes. So the volatility around the INR is going to be low. And the RBI has been reducing volatility. That's what they've been looking at, not just on the top side, but on the bottom side as well. So we think that because the RBI has been present, the upside to dollar INR is quite limited. They would cap a substantial appreciation as well, looking for opportunities to be building up their FX reserve. They've been very prudent about how they're managing that, but they will be looking for opportunity to build up the FX reserves. But the INR could also benefit on that counter-cyclical front, because they've not received the same amount of equity inflows last year. But in an environment where global growth is slowing down and India, which is a more domestically driven economy, growth is still holding steady. It might not necessarily grow at 7–8%, but even a 6% growth in India would be substantial enough to attract equity inflows. So that is another factor that should be driving the INR. And the third factor is the index inclusion in bonds. Arguably, it's not going to be a big factor for this year, but the sentiment is moving in the right direction. And all of this is supported by the fact that INR is still a positive carry currency. So carry to wall is very, very attractive compared to even its EM peers. So it enables you to be long INR and hold that position despite any volatility that you may be seeing in the broader market.
Chidu, in your notes, you're saying that you see geopolitics and the US election risk very, very front and center in 2024. But US elections are going to transpire only towards the last quarter of this year. So how will those two risks really impact economic activity, especially in Asia, because that's the market that you cover?
Right. In terms of the impact on the dollar itself, markets are going to be looking ahead to elections across the board, starting from this month all the way till November. And US elections typically lead to a little bit more volatility in the dollars, and depending on how much uncertainty we have as we head closer to the elections, you could have more of a dollar volatility and possibly some dollar strength as well. The economic impact of the elections for this year on Asia might be very minimal, because that's going to be more of a long drawn process, and the results will dictate how markets anticipate and expect policies and economic activity to be changing. But the support that they get from a weaker dollar and lower interest rates will probably trump pretty much everything else that that you see on the elections front.
Oh, okay. Fair enough.
We're going to have to leave it there. Thank you so much for making time. Really do appreciate you joining us today. That was Chidu Narayanan of Wells Fargo Securities. Pop, drop, stop and lock it. Crypto is on the docket when Street returns. Stay with us.
Let me ask you something. Do you ever think about your circulation? Well, you should.